Do you ever wonder about being a hustler or an anti-hustler, maybe? Maybe you struggle with productivity and even struggle with the idea of productivity. Well, today we have on an incredible guest, and that's what we're going to talk about. If this is your first time here, welcome to the Max Potential Habits podcast. I'm Dr. Amanda Barrientes. I am the host of the podcast, and this is your place where you're going to learn tips, tools, and strategies and hear inspirational interviews from incredible people who are all directed at helping you optimize your habits so that you can lead a thriving life and business, whatever that means to you. So today I have on an incredible life coach. Her name is Jac Julien, and she is a life coach and psychologist who helps smart, ambitious professionals get out from the overwhelm and stress of doing it all. She uses her own expertise and experience of being a recovering hustler and psychological science to guide people in thriving and living and working with intention and happiness. Jac is the founder of the AntiHustle Nation community and podcast, and she's married with 2 kids. She's an animal lover, and they live on the wild side of having a foster care practice service with local boxer dogs in her area, which is in Texas, correct?
Texas.
Yes, in Texas. So she's a lover of all things chocolate and caramel. We're going to have an incredible discussion, so stick around until the end. Welcome on the show, Jac.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. So, I want to share with everyone, Jac and I got to do a podcast interview. I was on her show, AntiHustle Nation, recently, and she did an interview with me, and we started talking at the end of the call about productivity, and we had such a great conversation. So we thought, let's talk about productivity on Max Potential Habits. But first, I want to ask you, Jac, how did you get into life coaching? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, as you said when you read my bio, I'm by trade a psychologist. And, as psychologists, we work with people who are really struggling with depression and anxiety. And I thought, I love doing that. I would also like to see what the other side is like with people who are maybe just struggling with what we think of as normal everyday things. And so said, the way to do that is to be a life coach and just think of the range of people I could help. And that's what led me to doing it.
That's awesome. So do you have a private practice and also a coaching business, or do you combine all of them?
I have a private practice and a coaching business.
Okay. And then I also know you're a professor, so you do some teaching.
I also do a little bit of teaching, yes.
Okay. And what's the topics that you teach?
Oh my goodness. I teach a full range of psychology topics from abnormal psychology to interpersonal relations, psychology of gender.
Nice. That's awesome. Oh, range. I love that. We can have so many fun conversations. Let's talk about productivity. First, what's your take on productivity?
My main take on productivity is I think we confuse being productive with being busy.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm always moving, always doing something, well, that must mean I'm productive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really true.
Yes, that's a big one. So give us an example. The example that comes up in my mind is I've worked with people who are like, I sit at my desk all day and I'm at work and I'm doing these things, but it's like, it's busy work instead of having an outcome that's focused by the end of the day and going, oh, I achieved this. It's kind of just taking up your day with busyness.
Yes.
Is that something that you see?
Exactly. So I work with a lot of business owners. And so something that they might do is, oh my gosh, like you said, I was at my work, I was sitting at my computer all day. I didn't get up. I didn't eat lunch. And I still had this long to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, what did you do? Well, I tweaked my website. I answered emails.
Mm-hmm.
And those little things that we need to do, but are not moving us forward, actually.
Yeah. So what would productivity look like to you?
So productivity then would be very focused, knowing what you need to get done and how it's going to move your business, your life, your whatever tasks you have on hand, get them done.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So clarity around what it is that you even want to be doing, and then taking action so you're focused and
Yes.
directed.
Yes.
What would you recommend for somebody who's stuck in that place of kind of, because I look at that too and I go, is that it's procrastination in a lot of ways. And I always think of procrastination as potentially fear-based.
Mm-hmm.
There's fear in taking action, or maybe it's not in alignment with values and people really aren't wanting to do what they say they're wanting to do. What would you recommend if someone's stuck in that space of doing busy work but not productive work?
Oh gosh. Well, there's lots of things. The first part is really getting clear on what it is that you want.
Mm-hmm.
I think the next part is understanding how you work best.
Mm.
And then it's a matter of figuring out how to put those all together so that you are focused and getting things done.
Okay. I want to ask you, if someone's unclear, let's say that they're being unproductive, they're noticing it, and they want to gain some clarity around what they want. Do you have some tips to share with listeners? What would they do in that situation?
Okay. So one of the things that I like to look at is, what is the reward you're getting for not doing something or doing something?
Uh-huh.
A lot of times it's, I have to check my email 15 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
Because we want maybe that gratification of, I got another client, or somebody likes my work, or somebody wants to get in touch with me, to channel Sally Fields. Oh, they love me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so understanding what reward we're getting, then we can find a way to get that reward in a different way that is not going to interfere with us accomplishing our tasks.
Okay. Yes. So bringing consciousness and clarity to it's uncovering why you're doing it in the first place, so that then you can make a choice in a new direction.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Awesome. And so I love this number 2 that you said, understanding how you work best. Tell us more about that.
Okay. So, if you go out and search Google for how can I be more productive, you are going to find 1,037 things.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe more.
Maybe more.
It's such a buzzword.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
But not all of them are going to work for you. Right now we're big into, everything should be able to fit on our phone.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, I am a paper and pen person.
Mm-hmm.
I like that feeling of being able to cross things off. I, want to see it. Oh, look, this is what I did today. I don't just want to go into something like Asana and click a box, right? I need that.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I've tried, I thought, okay, well, maybe I can get into the 21st century here and use something on the computer. I don't get as much done.
Mm-hmm.
So still using paper and pen, that's what works for me.
Okay. Okay, I love this. So it's like, what you're making me think of is, do you think that there are productivity tips that are generalizable to everyone? Or do you think everyone needs their own understanding what works best for you type of plan?
Well, I think that some are generalizable. If you take the idea of like how we set goals,
Mm-hmm.
I want to make $1 million this year. Okay. Well, that's kind of your objective.
Mm-hmm.
But your goal might be, I need to reach out to 25 people this year or this month. Probably this year. Unless you're working with millionaires, then maybe.
Yeah. It depends on your package price. Yep.
So, I need to reach out to 25 people this month to get to that goal.
Mm-hmm.
The goals need to be very small and specific.
Okay.
And action oriented.
Okay. Okay, I love what you're saying. So if setting the $1 million goal is way too broad and unclear
Yes.
and not action oriented, it's like it's more what you want versus the strategic goal of getting there.
Yes.
Okay. So small, specific, and actionable. I love that. Okay, awesome. And so you think that in being productive, there is a way to come up with goals that are going to be small, specific, and actionable that's going to help you advance and take it to the next level. But in your practical productivity day to day, it's learning about you and what works best for you.
Yes.
Okay. So can you give, so how do you align your day to be productive?
So part of me is kind of a go with the flow person, but there's another part of me that's very structured. So I make sure that I have a lot of structure around those things that absolutely have to get done.
Okay.
You know, my daily list of this is what absolutely needs to get done. And then for the things that I want to get done, I have kind of that free flow.
Okay.
Am I feeling like doing this today? Am I not? Or am I feeling like doing this first or second? So that I can have that freedom to move things around if I need to.
Yeah, I love that. It allows for, I like that you actually use the word flow, is it allows for some flow, and like in that, I notice that sometimes when we get really rigid with our goal setting and our day, we feel confined and restricted and kind of resentful of the goals that we made for ourselves.
Yes.
Which then causes you almost like deer in the headlights to sit there and not do anything,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I love that. So it's like you free flow and go, how do I feel today? So it sounds like, and I do something similar where I have some rigid goals for the week where I'm like, these are musts. These are things that I've got to do to move it forward. And they're things that I'm inspired to do, but they're on my schedule very clearly. And then I have other projects that are organically flowing through maybe a month period.
Right.
So it's like, okay, this is my objective for this month. And today I don't feel like working on that project, but I will feel like working on this project.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Yes. I like that. Okay.
Yeah. So see, how you work really well.
Yeah.
And you can work with that.
Yeah. Yeah. That is something that's interesting as a business coach to coach people on goals and productivity because, I think there's a tendency to want to have a structure that works for everybody and go, here's what it is. It's the magic pill, get it done, make it happen. But it doesn't really work that way.
No.
I've noticed.
Yes.
And I think there's principles that you can teach your clients that you can go, okay, this is something that success leaves evidence and clues that you can build upon. But then there's got to be some flexibility with that and working with yourself. What would you say, when you're working with people and you notice that people, understanding how you work best, like what are some of the variances for people? Is it like time of day or?
Yeah, it runs the gamut. It can be time of day. It can be, which leads a little bit to, how much energy do you have? Because it's not just about our time.
Yeah.
It's about how much mental energy we have as well. It can be, other commitments. It can be, what is mentally getting in the way. You mentioned procrastination and fear. That's a huge one.
Yeah. and I'm also thinking for you, like you have younger kids. Kids are going to step in, right? Your summer flow is going to be different than your school year flow.
A little bit.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit. And I love the name of your podcast, AntiHustle Nation. How did you come up with that name?
That's a good question. It was actually kind of on a whim. I was thinking about, okay, well, what do I really want people to understand? And it was kind of what I said at the beginning. I think hustle used to mean something good, like let's get up and let's go and let's get it done. And now it has been used to work 24/7 and just go. And I'm so against that. It doesn't make people happy. It makes you stressed out because, again, you feel like you are just on that hamster wheel of going all the time and not accomplishing anything and not taking the time to relax and enjoy your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, because my podcast, my company name is NFA Coaching, no fucking around coaching, and it's funny. Sometimes I'll sit down with clients and they're like, "Tell me more about NFA," and I'm like, "NFA means NFA Thrive, really. Like, even it's in maxing your potential. It means holistically maxing your potential. It's not just about pushing, 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 pushing. It's about how do I create holistic goals and a holistic lifestyle where I get to spend time with my family if that's what I value. I get to build a business that considers my long-term idea of what I want my lifestyle to look like. Those questions are big. It's not just like, I want to make $1 million and I'm just going to kill myself doing it.
Right.
Like, what's the fun if your health degrades and your mental health is gone? Then what's the fun of that in the end? Then you don't enjoy the process and the journey. So I love this because, I tend to be someone who's like, hustle, do it, come on, you got it, and the more that I step back and take that holistic approach, I'm like, it's about NFA Thrive. It's like leading a thriving life, and it's so in alignment with the anti-hustle idea.
It really is. We are like two peas in a pod.
Yeah. So did you notice for yourself when you started building a business and as you got into it, that was something that came up for you? Or did you step in already kind of from an anti-hustle philosophy?
Well, I think there was a little bit of both. I think I didn't recognize how much went into building a business. And so what struck me really hard was I'd be working on my business and I'd be feeling guilty because I wasn't spending time with my kids. Or I'd be with my kids and I was feeling guilty because I wasn't working on my business. And I said, this is no way to live my business or my home life or any life.
Yeah.
And so it really made me stop and think, what do we need to do to be productive and actually feel accomplished?
So that makes me think too of cultivating your why. This idea behind like, why am I doing this in the first place? And what is the outcome I really want to create? And I'm saying this because I can get really hyper focused in a direction and minimize importance in other areas. And so, in the last, I'd say 6 weeks, I've really stepped into this new place of that productivity question, the hustle question, the pushing myself really hard question. I'm like, you know what? I love what I'm doing. And it's been very inspired. And there's been some imbalances for me that I've noticed, and I go, actually, this business is the rest of my life. It's not something I'm just doing today or this month. It's like, I'm building a long-term business. So how do I want my long-term life to look? And it changes the perspective in a big way for me. It changed my behaviors. I was like, oh, you know what? Actually, I want to go on a trail run in the morning and not be so regimented with my block schedule.
Yes.
So it's been interesting. Yeah. And I think for you, your kids probably dictate because remind me how old your kids are?
8 and 11.
Okay. So they dictate a lot of your schedule, I'm sure. Yeah. Do you work with a lot of parents?
I do.
And is that something that comes in, that kind of balance of the family and the business and the kids?
Very, very much so.
Yeah.
I can't relate to these 20-year-olds who still are able to spend 12 hours a day on their business and then go out and spend time with friends and then come back and spend,
Yeah. And that's so true, right? It's just such a different lifestyle than you have right now. Yeah. And I'm kind of in the interesting place where my kids are a lot older. So I have a lot of freedom and flexibility to focus on. And in some ways, that's why I've pushed so hard. And then my kids were a limiter before. And now they're not. And so I choose to limit myself and be more balanced.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing that we need to recognize is that our productivity and the way we do it is going to change based on kind of where we are in life and what else is happening.
Yes. Yeah. But let's go there. When people are over their life course and over the building of their business even, what do you notice in shifting your productivity in terms of even the stages of your business development?
So this is kind of what I have seen happen is that when we get into our business, we're really excited. We're ready to put our nose to the grindstone and go, 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 go. And in some ways we need to, we need that momentum. then a lot of us get stuck in, I'm going to keep doing it this way instead of, hiring things out or being like, okay, well, now I'm financially stable. I can take some time off. We think that's the way it's always going to be. And so we get stuck in that loop, and it's really difficult to get out of. And then finally, we burn out, or we have something catastrophic happen, or we get sick, and we just can't do it. And we learn that lesson of, okay, now I need to readjust where I'm at.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're in that mode, for my listeners, if you're in that mode and you're kind of in that moment of feeling burnt out because you've been really hustling and you've been really productive and you've been pushing, what do you recommend for people to do to get out of that loop? What kind of questions could they ask themselves, or what kind of habits could they implement to shift that?
Right. At that point, it's asking ourselves, what is really the most important here? What can I delegate? What can I get rid of? If you're building your business, then, what really are your money-making activities?
That's great. Yeah. That's really, I love that. Okay. So you said, what's most important here? What can I get rid of? What can I delegate? Those are great questions, everyone, to write down and consider if you're in that burnout phase, or you're in the phase of where I want to continue on in a really balanced way where I get to expand, because the truth is it's really hard to expand your business if you don't delegate. I really don't think it's possible to get to and not everyone's goal is to have a multi-million-dollar business, but let's say you want to keep expanding, you're going to need to start to delegate some things. And so asking those questions, and I love that one, what can I get rid of? People forget to ask that.
Yes.
Because it's almost always, what do I add? I need to keep adding. I need to keep adding. I need to keep adding. So asking yourself, what can I get rid of? For you, what have some things been that you've gotten rid of in your business over time?
I really try and keep my business low key. So really for me, it's about delegating.
Okay.
Right. Like with my podcast, I really wanted to edit it myself. But that's not a good use of my time.
Yeah.
So paying someone to do that for me, life-saving.
Yeah. So then you just get to produce the podcast and then hand it off.
Yes.
Yeah. I have an assistant that does my podcast editing as well. That's awesome. And for you, when you align your productivity and ask yourself what's the most important, what does that process look like for you? Do you journal, or do you just sit down and kind of ask yourself in the morning, or is it
So here's something that I do that has been probably the biggest lifesaver in my business and with my family. Before I pick my kids up from school, and I'll say, I forgot to do this summer, and I think next summer I'm going to implement it. But once I'm done working for the day, before I pick my kids up from school, I take a half hour, 15 minutes to a half hour, and I go sit on the couch and have all the animals try and give me love. But I just sit there. I'm not on my phone. I'm not watching TV. I'm not listening to the radio. Okay, maybe that's a small lie. I do have my phone there, but I also have my notebook there.
Okay.
If I remember to bring it. That's the problem with having a notebook, with being
paper. It's like
right?
You have your phone there, but it's a resource for you to be writing something down.
Right.
Okay.
And I just chill.
Okay.
I get a lot of thoughts about where do I need to go in my business? What programs do I want to offer? But it also gives me that chance to turn off my work brain and turn on my mom brain. And
it's a transitional moment too.
Yes, it is huge. People will look at me and go, that's like a half hour you could have spent working. Yes, but that half hour is the biggest savior of my day.
That's so powerful. And, I have to say, many of the people that I've had on have said the same thing. One of the most powerful things you can do for your business is taking free, unstructured time to
Mm-hmm.
just it's not even brainstorm. It's not like you're doing the work. It's kind of like you're allowing for information to come to you because you're creating the space for it.
Yes. Well, why do we have our best ideas in the shower?
Totally.
Because we're
Yeah.
not focused on anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's like I do trail running and I'll go on a run and I have so many ideas. And I realize that it's because I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not busy. I'm not doing something. I'm actually just processing
Yes.
and experiencing,
Yes.
and it is so powerful. And I love that you said, a lot of people say you could have been doing something else and been really busy and productive, right?
Yes.
But that is productive. It's actually very productive.
It's hugely productive.
Yeah, I love that one. So chill time.
Yes. Yes.
Unstructured chill time.
Unstructured chill
That's
time.
great. Okay, so what would you say are your top 3 max potential habits that have gotten you where you are today?
Okay. Well, we just talked about the one, taking time for me.
Okay.
Right? That relaxation before I pick up the kids. But also, I used to be huge into working at night after my kids went to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And, now making sure that that is time for myself or me and my husband,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that I take care of myself. That whole idea of, you can't fill from an empty cup.
Awesome. Okay.
That has been one of the biggest things. Being super mindful of what I am doing or not doing and why I am doing it or not doing it.
Okay. So being mindful of why you're doing what you're doing.
Yes.
I gotta add to that, like people, it seems so obvious,
Uh-huh.
but it's not.
No.
And it relates back to the really the productivity and busyness.
Mm-hmm.
We get busy, 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 and we don't even stop to ask ourselves, like, is this actually important?
Mm-hmm.
It's like being that you said the hamster wheel. Like
Yes.
you're on the hamster wheel, you're going, and you don't stop to go, is this actually important?
Yes. Wait,
Yeah.
okay. So you'll appreciate this short story if I might share it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a while back, there was, I don't know, someone was looking for somebody to help in a Facebook group or something like that. I can't even remember exactly what it was now. And I looked and I went, oh, that would be so awesome. It fits with where I am and what I love to do. And I should, check into this and maybe apply for this. And so you get really excited about things, right? You think this is going to be awesome. And I've learned, don't just jump in. I took 5 minutes and I said, does this fit the values of where I want my business to go?
Mm-hmm.
And not just in the sense of what I want to do to grow my business, but their business model. Do their values fit my values?
Mm-hmm.
And where is my time going to go then?
Mm-hmm.
What am I giving up to do this?
Wow,
And
those are such powerful questions. Yes.
killed the excitement.
Yep.
Which was a good thing because I really did not need to take that on.
Yeah. Okay, everyone listening, there's so much gold in what you just said, because I think what happens is we get infatuated with ideas of how great something can be without stopping to look at the balanced perspective and asking, and then we want to just jump in and we want to go, yes, 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 without being mindful of what's the other side of it.
Yes.
What is this actually going to commit me to, and what will the outcome be, and how am I getting entangled with that person?
Right.
Is it someone I want to be partnered with in a business venture? All those questions, right?
Yes.
That is awesome. I love that. That's so important to do. To me, it reminds me of the boundary idea of it, or people pleasing almost.
Yes.
When we have that automatic response to say yes to an opportunity without just stopping and not even necessarily saying no right away either.
No.
It's not answering right away.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, let me take some time to consider this.
Mm-hmm.
Gives you the space to then ask those mindful questions.
Right. And, in those situations, we always want to come up with an excuse or some reason. And you know what? We don't owe anybody a reason.
Yeah.
I need to think about this.
I wish I was sitting next to you, give you a high five right now. That's good. So true. And it's okay to just say no.
Yes.
Yeah. There doesn't even have to be a reason. Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's power. Okay. Okay. What would you say number 3?
So then the last part is basically systems, the systems that work for me and not trying to follow along with what works for everybody else.
That's power too. Something I notice in all 3 of yours is that it's clarity about who you are and what you want. Like you're going to take time for me. That's self-nurturing, that's self-mastery, that's personal power, that's you stepping in and being like, I matter, I deserve time and space and to take care of me. And then being mindful is knowing yourself, right?
Right.
And systems that work for you instead of injecting other people's.
Yes.
Systems. Wow.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about, I think.
Those are incredible. Those are great. What are some systems that you've developed that work for you? Like, what's one system that you can think of when you say systems? Like, if people are listening, they're like, "What does that actually mean?"
Right. No, that's a good point. So I look at systems as really just the way of organizing things.
Okay.
Whether that be our to-do list or our who's going to pick the kids up from this activity, putting an organizational structure.
Uh-huh.
Too big of a word.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Place
Okay. Yep.
for the things that are going to happen in your life.
Okay.
And sometimes it's something that's repetitive day in, day out.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's something that needs to be checked monthly.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's something that needs to be checked weekly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. And in that, I hear you saying it's you're checking it to keep refining the systems.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Refining it or, I'll go back to the kids throwing a wrench in your life, right? My kids' schedule, while they have their activities every week, right? Their schedules can also fluctuate. My oldest child is not coming home after school today. Right? Who's picking up the youngest and what are we going to do with him after school? So some of those things, I think, especially with family life, checking in on a weekly schedule.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. To structure and organize more effectively.
Right. Or even, for your business, if your spouse travels, right? How do you keep the home fires burning while your spouse is out of town and you're still working and take care of all the home stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. Systems organization is so, it links back to that actually not having to hustle so much.
Yes.
Because you're premeditating organization, which causes a discipline. It's like, I think so many people worry about implementing systems because they feel confined, but they're actually your freedom.
Yes.
It gives you so much more freedom and flexibility.
Yes, that mental energy that we spend to try and figure out what we have to do every day.
Yeah.
It saves so much. And there's nothing written in stone that you can't change them.
Sure.
I think that a lot of it is experimentation and being open to, this is what I'm going to try now. If it works, awesome.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, I'm in control of my life. I can change it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that willingness to, think about the sunk cost theory where people put in energy and time into something and then they go, oh, I don't want to let it go because I put so much energy, time, maybe money into it, instead of going, actually, let's evaluate. Is it working? Is it not? Do I need to let it go? Yeah. Oh, that's big, high value stuff. So I'm going to put you on the spot because I didn't let you know that I was going to ask you this before, but I'm thinking like, what's one really powerful takeaway for listeners in terms of creating an anti-hustle life and business? What if you could just say one thing that you're like, this is something I would want you to take away, what would it be?
You are important. You are an adult and you can now take charge of your life and set your intentions and work towards them.
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. It's been incredible.
Thank you for having me. I love talking with you, and I hope your listeners get a lot out of it as well.
They absolutely will. So, and I know they're going to want to connect with you. So let everyone know what the best way to connect with you is.
The best way to connect with me is to come on over to Facebook and join our free AntiHustle Nation community Facebook group.
Okay.
Or if you want to get to know me a little bit better, obviously the AntiHustle Nation podcast is on iTunes and everywhere.
Okay, awesome. And for everyone listening, I'll have those links in the show notes. So just go to AntiHustle Nation on Facebook. Your website is your name, Jac Julien, and that will be in my links, and then AntiHustle Nation Podcast. And there's a ton of great stuff there. You do interviews and solo casts, and it's really high value. So thank you for being here today, everyone. And thank you, Jac. And I hope that you all are not busy, but productive today, and that you really create the day for you that feels in alignment with what you want to create in the longer term vision of your life and business. And with that, I'll close. I hope you thrive and feel alive, and I'll be back next week. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you're liking this podcast, help spread the word by subscribing, sharing, leaving a rating and a review. To connect, go to nfacoaching.com, where you can join the Max Potential Habits community and get access to all of my free and paid resources. There's daily inspiration on Instagram, IGTV videos, access to the Max Potential Habits LinkedIn group, and links for working with me in the live weekly Max Potential Habits online group training, the NFA Money Magnet Habits online course, and if you're really serious about taking it to the next level, you can also schedule a Max Potential coaching consult. Until next time, I hope you have a NFA day where you thrive and feel alive.